Here we go now. A case of beer, some barbecue. There's no doubt that I'm better than you. With these looks and these moves, you can't blame me for being so rude. The land of the red, white, and blue will be my home till the day I die. I'm every lady's fantasy. I'm the American guy. The trailer park is where I'm from. You better believe I have about 27 guns. Baseball games, pickup trucks. I'm leagues
Check.
above
Testing.
you
1,
other
2,
dumb
3.
schmucks. I'm from where the women are hot and the Twinkies are deep fried. And every day I pledge allegiance to God and country. I'm the American guy. And I know there's a lot of people who are jealous of all the great things that I've got. And you know, when I sit down and take a look at it, I have to admit, I've really got quite a lot. I'm the American guy.
Happy Friday evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Filsinger Games Fan Podcast. My name is Grant Baciocco, and it is an absolute pleasure to have you along tonight for the ride. Big thanks to everybody who's watching live. Thank you to everybody who's watching on delay. And it's great to have you here. This is the Filsinger Games Fan Podcast, episode number 155 for August 6, 2021. The podcast that's going to keep it short so you can go watch Suicide Squad, because I know that's what you want to do. Before we begin, we want to send a big shout out to all the Patreon patrons who make this show and the other shows from Saturday Morning Media possible. It is all thanks to them. And a big shout out to our patron producers, Dorothy Pachoco, Eve Cunning, Kathy Crawford, Tony Urbano, David Akers, and Vicky Sebring. If you would like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and sign up today. Thank you to all the patrons for their support. Well, you know, we don't have a lot of news coming up, but we do have some news. So we're going to get right to it, because that's what we do on this show. We cover the news, and we do it in bite-sized segments that, that are aware of your time. First, I wanted to talk about this tweet Tom posted, because it didn't get any traction on the boards, and I think it's kind of cool. It is an early sketch of MATADOR of M83 by Daryl Banks from the Best of Champions of the Galaxy set. And it's two pictures side by side. It is a working draft and then the final, uncolored. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, I'll have a link to this tweet in the show notes, so you'll be able to go check it out. And the final version is kind of blurry, but we've already seen the final version. But I thought it was interesting to see the kind of rough draft version with and without a 5 o'clock shadow, as Tom put it. So great artwork. I love seeing these sort of behind the scenes early drafts of things. I think they're a lot of fun, and super cool that Tom shared this. Now, these do look like printouts, so maybe this is something that will wind up in an auction later on down the road, which would be very, very cool. So there you go. Moving on to Legends of Wrestling. This is where all the big news is this week. And it concerns Legends Prime, Legends Promoter Prime, and specifically Quarter 3 of Legends Promoter Prime. Right now, over on the Filsinger Games message boards, you can have a hand in deciding who will be in the Quarter 3 Promoter Prime set for Legends. And we've got a lot of choices here. And The first thing we're going to talk about is black and white to color. So the Legends team is saying, here are 4 people who have black and white cards, and which one would you like to see in color? And the poll is Cousin Luke, Johnny Rods, Larry Sharp, and Johnny Stewart. So those are the 4 names who are being put up to a fan vote. This is all fans' choice of getting a upgrade to color. So there you go. There's your 4 choices. It looks so far. Now you remember the last time there was a fan choice poll, we nailed it. We got it absolutely right. And we may just do that again, but maybe we're just going to retire the champion. But anyway, it looks right now, I mean, you can never tell how the voting's going to go, but it looks like Johnny Rods is the early favorite on that one. The next choice is a new wrestler, someone who has never had a card before and in Legends of Wrestling, and they are being put up for a vote now. And this is interesting, is there's actually 5 people who are being put up for a vote. Now, I'm not familiar with all of these things. Sunny Beach, Big Bully Busick, The Equalizer, Alan Funk, and Frogman LeBlanc. Those are, or Frogman LeBlanc, maybe. But those are the 5 choices. Now, the only one I'm sort of vaguely familiar with is Big Bully Busick. I do not remember Alan Funk as Kwee-Wee. I think that was his name in WCW. But anyway, this is... it's a great choice. It just shows how many wrestlers Legends have signed that they are going to be putting up, the depth of the roster of signed wrestlers. So you can vote for which one of these wrestlers you think should get the vote and get a card in Promoter Prime Quarter 3. Moving on to our final thing is which wrestler's alter ego should be added to the Legends Color roster in Quarter 3 Promoter Prime. So this is wrestlers who already have a color card, but they have an alternate persona. And your choices here are Adorable Adrian Adonis, Conan, the late 90s to present persona, so sort of his gangster persona, Buff Bagwell, and Del Wilkes as the Trooper. So those are your choices. I will say, this is not a prediction. I'm not making any predictions, but it does seem from over on the message boards that Del Wilkes, the Trooper, is leading that vote, but who knows? Anything can happen. Now, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I have a challenge to the Legends crew. First of all, let me say this. I wish that these polls could be put up without allowing comments. Because if you ask me, the comment sections get just a hair toxic with people putting down other people's choices, and it's not cool. Everyone has their opinion, but they treat their opinion like fact. And this is not everybody, but this is some people over on the boards. And I wish that these polls, when they do these fans' choice polls, they could be put up without the ability to comment. I think that would be really, really great, and I think it would avoid some of this little toxic comments creeping in. But the other thing is, here's my challenge to the Legends of Wrestling crew, and I don't know if they're watching. My challenge to Filsinger Games: do not announce the poll winners. Do not announce who won. Let it be a surprise when we open our envelopes in September. Can you do that, Legends crew? Can you just take the votes? Don't tell us who won, and then let it all be a surprise when we open the envelopes. I think that would be awesome, because I understand with regular sets, people want to know who's in the sets. They don't like surprise cards. I get that. But if you're a Promoter Prime subscriber, you've subscribed for the whole year, so you're going to get who you're going to get, right? And I just think it would be a lot of fun if the results of these polls were locked away and we don't get to know who won until we open that envelope. I think that would be really cool. Will the Legends team step up to the challenge? I don't know. It's probably not their decision. It's probably Filsinger Games' decision. Anyway, go over to the message boards right now. You can vote in all these 3 polls. I think it is really, really cool that the fans, promoters, are getting to decide each of the 3 cards. I don't think this has ever been done before. Maybe it has, but I'm not thinking of it. I'm not thinking of when. I think it's really cool that Filsinger Games is doing this and letting us pick all 3 cards for Promoter Prime. And maybe this is something that should be done more than just once a year. I don't know. I think it's really, really cool. So there you go. That is the Legends news. Always, for all the information, filsingergames.com is where you want to go for the latest information and to keep track of everything. Now, I had some requests. Some people messaged me. They want to know what is going on in my feds. So I'm going to take a few minutes here to just quickly go through my feds. I have started 2137. I have playing. You can see all these results over at gwfpromoter.com. And I'm just going to talk about 1 card per week, and I'm going to talk about Invasion, which was the first card of 2137. We started off with a huge bang, Shayne giving Azuma a shot at the Interplanetary Championship. It was a great match, a big 4-star match. Azuma actually had Shayne pinned until Scorn interfered. Shayne does retain the Interplanetary Championship. He won via showdown, and after the match, Shayne said to Azuma, hey, if you're ever looking for a tag team partner, I would love to be a tag team partner with you. So that was interesting. Azuma kind of nodded but left because Lord Nexus is still a little unsure about Shayne. Moving on to the second match, we had the debuts of Storm and Hyla, and Storm just absolutely crushed Hyla. It was over in 3 moves. Not even Flaunch could stop the onslaught. That is Storm. Very impressive debut for Storm. Another debut in our next match, Evolved took on the Natives, and they defeated the Natives via submission when Tarval made Crud submit to the foothold trap. Now, here's the story here. The Natives has spent a lot of time in the jungle with the Basilisk. So Evolved went to them and said, hey, we're trying to hunt the Basilisk. What do you know? And the Natives said, we're not going to tell you anything. So they challenged them to the match. That's what you have here. And Evolved easily dispatching of the Natives. In our next match, Tempest versus Burning Man. This feud starting things off hot, pun intended, and Tempest with a big win over Burning Man with low tides. And actually, Tempest just ran over Burning Man, just steamrolled him, made it look relatively easy. I always hate that when there's a feud in the handbooks, and this happened last year with Perfect Specimen and Saber. Perfect Specimen just easily trounced Saber in the first match. And Tempest just easily trounces Burning Man. And in fact, after the bell, Tempest continued to attack Burning Man and delivered an elbow from the top rope. And Burning Man is now injured for 5 cards. And Tempest just said, look, this year the Animen are not playing. We will defeat our enemies decisively. Our next match, Chameleon Creatures defeating Royal Uprising via pinfall when Chameleon Creature Future Shock covered Death Knight 2 via pinfall after Universe Shattered. Royal Uprising not finding their footing after a full year of tag team matches, and Exo King looked especially disappointed. So there you go. Just Royal Uprising, something's got to happen with that team. Match number 6, Godsend is demanding a match with Overmaster, Aethrin Overmaster, after the attack on Castellix. Overmaster is just ignoring him and sending other people to fight him. So Godsend easily defeats Aethrin Soldier via pinfall with Kingdom Come. Total squash match. Godsend toys with Aethrin Soldier, hitting him with power move after power move, calling out Overmaster before each one. And Paralyze even tried to rush in to break up a pinfall, and Godsend caught him with a Super Savior drop. And then he finally wins the match and just calls out Overmaster, demanding him to face him. In the main event, we had a rematch here. Now, one of my hottest feuds at the end of 2136, believe it or not, is the Gladiators versus Better Than Human. I know, 2 villain teams. What's going on with that? But that's just the way the dice roll sometimes. And let me tell you, Tharkus and Sai have been giving the Gladiators fits. It's been so much fun to watch. In this match, the Gladiators win via DQ when the ref catches Tharkus hitting I Speak My Mind. Now, in this match, Tharkus had both Fist and Siege almost pinned at 2 different times, and interference from outside and pin saves broke those up. So Tharkus very upset that the Gladiators, they want to prove that the Gladiators aren't the conquerors of the GWF. They want to prove that they are. So that is a quick little look at to what's happening in my Fed. If you want more, I've played several matches past this. They're all up at gwfpromoter.com, including my 2137 perennial. You can go check that out. And that is a little look at my Fed. If you would like to see more of this in the weeks ahead, let me know. I'll be happy to add this as another segment to the show. I want to send a special shout out to everybody who has sent nice words about Championship Wrestling from Hollywood Act 3. Super excited that people are getting the cards in the mail. Now, we did notice that there was a little misprint error, that there was a move name that was wrong on the Eddie Pearl of Midnight Heat card that was sent out. I've had those cards reprinted. They are in the mail to you. You should get them soon. You can just swap it right in. The card works perfectly. All the stats are exactly the same. It was just a different move name was put on instead of the correct one. And I got them reprinted because when I give them to Eddie Pearl, I of course want them to be great. So I have a few sets left. I have less than 10 sets left. If you are not on my mailing list, reach out to me and get in touch, and I will be happy to send you one free of charge. Well, now it's time to get to the match of the show. And let me tell you, if you are listening to this time shifted, if you're listening to the audio podcast, you might want to pop over. You might want to pop over to the YouTube video because I think you're going to like this. Shayne has been champion for a long time, and Shayne comes out to the ring with the belt, and he says, I'm proud to be the champion. I am proud to be your podcast grand champion. But you know what? This belt that we have every week, it's just the Galaxian title. And we have wrestlers here from GWF. We have wrestlers here from Legend. This title doesn't represent the Podcast Grand Championship. So Shayne, not throwing the belt away or anything, hands the belt to an official. And he says, ladies and gentlemen, I have a brand new belt. Would you please welcome, I don't know if you welcome a belt, would you please welcome the new Filsinger Games Fan Podcast Grand Championship belt? And he holds up this great, amazing new belt that says Filsinger Games Fan Podcast Grand Championship. It's got the Legends of Wrestling logo. It's got the GWF logo. And a huge shout out to Hunter G, who took a commission and allowed me to, or just help me make this new title for the podcast. So Shayne straps it around his waist. He says, listen, I am the Podcast Grand Championship, and I'm going to defend this title against anyone who wants to come out and challenge me. And then all of a sudden, this Olympic theme starts playing, and who else but Kurt Angle comes to the ring. The Olympic champion comes to the ring ready to face Shayne. And ladies and gentlemen, we have our match of the night. Let's roll for initiative. Let's ring that bell. And it looks like Shayne will have the initiative to start things off here. And he hits a shotgun dropkick 3 agility. They have equal agility, so that will be that will work. They have the same agility. Kurt Angle's going to roll on level 3 defense. Hurt 2 there for Kurt Angle. Rustlers round up 3. Shayne is defending this belt. Down 3, leave the ring. Kurt Angle is going to bail out of the ring, and but you grab him and smash him into the announce table with a specialty move. The referee may disqualify Kurt Angle. And no, he is not disqualified. Kurt Angle throws Shayne back into the ring and will roll on level 3 offense. Out of the ring, let's see, what are his stats? No, he is going to roll, Kurt Angle's going to roll up. Body scissors and sleeper 2, hurt 2 on Shayne. Backbreaker 3, Kurt Angle does a big backbreaker, down 3, but then we get the asterisk, roll 1 die. If the roll is even, then look out for Shayne's Fury. So we're going to roll 1 die here. Is it going to be even? It is even. Shayne comes back, shocks Kurt Angle with Showdown +2. So the target is going to be 4, and the roll is a 12. So big kick out there by Kurt Angle. Now Shayne cannot use that Showdown again, but he is now in charge and rolls a rolling backbreaker, choice H. Death jump is A. His agility, he's going to go for the death jump. Shayne going up to the top. This could be a mistake. The opponent climbs to the top. Kurt Angle recovers. They struggle. The better agility rating. They both have equal agility, so it's Shayne who's going to win that struggle. Throws Kurt Angle off the top. Going to roll on level 3 offense, and he hits Showdown again. Another big +2 move, so 5 is the target, and the roll is a 2. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner with Showdown is Shayne. So Shayne still the podcast grand champion. I would love to know who you think Shayne should wrestle next week. Leave me a comments in the video once the show is over, and we will put that. We will put those. Kurt Angle was the only person requested last week, so he got the shot this week. But I would love to know who you think Shayne should defend this beautiful new belt against next. So there you go. That is the match of the show. Moving on to the question of the show. This is last week's question. Who is one wrestler you want to see in the Best of Indies death match set? Now, we had a lot of great answers, and I'm going to start with Steve wrote this very thoughtful thing out, so I am going to read this. Steve Williams says, I volunteer to be that wrestling fan and say I don't think that death match wrestling is the same as pro wrestling, and as such, I'm not very familiar with the stars of the genre, and subsequently not as excited for the upcoming Filsinger Games set. I understand and kind of appreciate the deathmatch culture's hustle, but for me, telling a story with one's body in an artistic show of power and technical skill will always different from telling a story with one's body and light bulbs, sheet glass, and sharp objects. And this is coming from a longtime wrestling fan who owns his fair share of deathmatch videos from around the world, including something of a video career perspective of I'm going to mispronounce these names, and I so apologize. Atsushi Onita, Hayabusa, and Pat Tanaka, and for that matter, Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling itself. I apologize if I mispronounced any of those. I think Filsinger Games' decision to make a deathmatch set further underscores how dedicated they are to offering something for every fan. It's not hard to notice how professional wrestling has lost its momentum over the last few years. I'd argue that this is a result of the industry first losing its complexity, and then losing its identity, and finally losing its way. As such, the industry is no longer interested in wrestling so much as a quick fix social media-esque trendiness, the likes of which death matches supplies. So very, very thoughtful stuff there from Steve Williams, but critical of deathmatch wrestling, but complimenting Filsinger Games on releasing the set. Jerk Bronson says, predicting that Maria Manic gets a Man-Eater update. Jared B., who suggested Kurt Angle, says, I'm not much of a deathmatch watcher, but after the Dark Side of the Ring, Nick Gage sounds like a no-brainer. And Joe M. says, the only name I really hope we get is Nick Gage. So there you go. Thank you to everybody who answered the question from last week. Now, this question from this week is sort of spinning out of the recent Roll Up podcast, where it was asked what valuable collectibles people have. What is the most valuable thing in your Filsinger Games collection? What is the most valuable thing in your Filsinger Games collection? Now, this can be either monetary value, like you have 12 copies of early classics, or it could be something sentimental. So what is the most valuable thing in your Filsinger Games collection? And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. As we start to wrap up here, I want to remind you, or just let you know, that in 2 weeks will be our 1-year anniversary. 1 year of doing these shows. So I hope you will tune in next week and the week after for our big 1-year anniversary. And on that show, I will be doing, just like we did on the first episode of this podcast, we'll be reviewing 2137. So I hope you can check that out. Hey, we've got a lot of podcast friends. I hope you will check them out. Uncharted Territory, that is the Legends team with their podcast. They just released an episode this morning. I have not had a chance to listen to it yet, but I look forward to it. After Further Review with Steve Tower, right here on YouTube, Heartland Championship Wrestling with Dave Little, also on YouTube. Roll Up, the official Filsinger Games podcast, and the Dizzy Dice podcast is back. Lee Longpree is back. We harangued him enough. He's finally back with a new episode, so please go check that out because Lee is awesome, and the inspiration for reading show results on this show was all thanks to Lee. So thank you, Lee, and welcome back. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, there's an audio version of this podcast available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Filsinger Games in your favorite audio store, and it should pop right up. If you have a topic you'd like the show to cover, leave it in the comments. Make sure to subscribe or follow whether you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, and follow GWF Promoter on social media at GWF Promoter. You can check out my personal feds at gwfpromoter.com and lowpromoter.com. The theme song is American Guy by Throwing Toasters, used by permission and available on Apple Music, Spotify, and anywhere you get your music. This podcast is not affiliated in any way with Filsinger Games or its subsidiaries. It's purely for entertainment purposes. This episode is copyright 2021 Saturday Morning Media. Huge shout out to Michael Bratta, Joe Scalamera, Thomas Morgan, Steve Tower, Mark Ferguson, Michael Bratta, Isis Effix, hope I'm saying that right, Christopher Merriman, Mark Ferguson, I know Todd was in here, yes, and anyone else, Thomas Morgan, James Lawrence, thank you for coming in and watching the live stream. All right, so thank you all for tuning in. I will be back next week as we do our penultimate podcast for the year, and then we will celebrate 1 year of podcasting the week after. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Go watch Suicide Squad, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
And I know there's a lot of people who are jealous of all the great